You can draw this in Procreate. You can draw this landscape with mountains in Procreate by just following the steps in this video and using the brushes that are already in Procreate. During this tutorial, you will be learning by doing. If you follow this video all the way till the end, then I'm sure that you can make this landscape as well. And be sure to share your artwork on Instagram once you are finished and tag me in the image. That way I will be able to find it and perhaps you will see your work in the next You Can Draw This video. Let's get started. The canvas is 2500 pixels by 2500 pixels. If you want to use the same brush sizes as I'm using, then be sure to make your canvas that size as well. I have created a color palette for you, which you can download through the link in the description. First thing we'll do is add a color to our background. We'll do that by going to the layer menu. Just click these two squares and then click background color. And let's pick this first color in the color palette. And now we'll go to layer 1 and pick this second color in the color palette. And we are going to make a circle. For your brush, go and grab the monoline brush, which you can find under calligraphy, and draw a circle. Hold your pen in place and tap one finger on your screen to make it snap to a perfect circle. And now drag in the color to fill your shape. I want to make the circle a little bit smaller, so let's do that. I'll zoom out a little bit first, then go to the arrow and be sure to set it to uniform, and I'll turn off magnetics. I'll make it just a little bit smaller and place it just below the center. Well, just not below the center, just a little bit off center. And now we'll duplicate this layer. Go to the layers, now swipe to the left and select duplicate. Now we'll select the lowest one and we'll drop in this third color. Just drop it on there, and you can't see it right now because it's below the other layer, of course, but it's there. And we'll make this circle a little bit bigger. So we'll go to the arrow again, and with your fingers just pinch out a little bit until you have this edge around your blue circle. Next, we'll start adding the landscape. We'll make a new layer for that, so we'll go to the layers, click the top layer, and then click plus to make a new layer. And we will clip this layer to that blue layer. That way, whatever we paint on this layer will only show up on our blue circle. So click the layer and then use clipping mask. Now it's clipped to that blue circle. For our color, we'll pick this lightest green color, that fourth color in the color palette. And we still have the monoline brush selected, which you can find under calligraphy. And now we'll start drawing a hill in the front of our landscape. Let's start about here. Go up a little bit. Just make a hilly shape. Go down to the right side. And then make sure that you go around and close your shape. And now you can drag in the color to fill that shape. And now let's make a hill behind this one. Select the blue circle and click the plus to make a new layer. And as you can see, this new layer is automatically clipped to that blue circle as well. And now we'll pick that darker green color. Still using the monoline brush. And let's make a second hill. Let's go up a little bit. And again, make sure that you close your shape before you fill it by dragging in the color. By the way, the size of the brush is around 25%, but in this case, it doesn't really matter what brush size you use. It's a matter of personal preference. Now we'll move back even more. We'll start adding some mountains. So go back to layer 1 again, to that blue circle, Click the plus to make a new layer, and now let's pick this gray color right here. And again, we're still using the monoline brush. And now let's add a mountain here on the left side. Make some wobbly lines and gradually go down. And again, make sure that you close the shape before you drag in the color to fill it. Next, we'll make another layer. So go back to the blue circle, click the plus to make a new layer, which will show up beneath the blue circle and the mountain that we just created. Now we'll pick this darker gray color and we'll make another mountain. Start about here and go up. And make sure you close your shape and drag in the color. Next, I want to create a mountain that is behind these hills and mountains, but that will stick out of our circle. But if we use layer clipping mask on the blue circle, we won't be able to make our mountain stick out at the top. So we'll have to work our way around that. We'll do that by making a new layer on top of all the others. So go to layer 3, click plus, and now we'll start drawing that mountain. We'll pick this gray right here first. And let's start here at the left side and create a big mountain. And we'll make it stick out here at the top. Let's go down again. And make sure that you close your shape of your mountain and drag in the color to fill it. To remove these parts that are covering our other mountains, we can go to those layers with those mountains. First we'll go to layer 5, click it, and then pick select. Now we have made a selection of that mountain shape. Go back to the top mountain, and if you swipe with 3 fingers, you can clear that part of our big mountain. And we can do the same for the other side. So go to layer 6, click it, use select, and go back to the big mountain layer. And now swipe your fingers again to remove that part as well. For our next step, we are going to add a light side to our big mountain. Let's make a new layer on top. And let's make a selection of our big mountain. So click it and use select. Now we have an active selection. And whenever you have an active selection, you can only paint inside of that selection. So that's very useful right here. Let's pick this lighter gray color. And now we are going to paint the light side of this mountain. Let's start here at the top and make like a double S shape. Close the shape and drag in the color. And now we can turn off the selection by clicking that S-shaped ribbon again. We can use the same technique to add some snow to our mountain. So let's make a new layer again by clicking the plus, and let's make a selection of the big mountain again. So click select, go to your new layer, and then let's pick this third color in the color palette. And now we are going to add some snow to our peak. Just make some drippy shapes. Some smaller, some bigger. And again, always make sure to close your shape before you drag in the color. Then turn off the selection by clicking the S-shaped ribbon. And what I'd like to do now is make this side of the snow, make that lighter. And what we can do is make a selection of that light part of the mountain. That's layer 8, click it, use select. And now if we go to layer 9 and pick a light color, this fourth color right here, we can drag that into the selection to make that part of that snow lighter. And click the S-shaped ribbon again. We can use the selection technique for the other mountains as well. let's give them some snow too. First, let's go to this dark one in the back. That's layer 6. Let's click it, make a selection, and then click the plus to make a new layer. And on this layer, we'll make the snow for that little mountain. Let's pick the third gray right here. And then let's draw in some snow for this little mountain as well. Just some drips, close the shape, and fill it with color. And you can turn off the selection again by clicking the S. Now let's move to the front, to that other mountain. Click it, then go to Select, and make a new layer on top. And for this one, we'll use the lighter snow color. And let's draw some drips. And close the shape before you fill it. And to get out of the selection, just click the S again. Doing great so far. Now let's add some texture to our mountains. We'll go back to the big mountain shape first. To make sure that the texture that we are about to paint will only show up on this shape, we can set this layer to alpha lock. Now whatever we paint will only show up on the pixels that are already on this layer. If you look closely, you can see that shape of the mountain and that like checkerboard surrounding it. Those are transparent parts of that layer. So nothing will show up there, only on that mountain shape. For our brush, we will go to Industrial and use the heavy metal brush. And for the color, we will pick this darkest gray right here. I have the brush size set to around 28% and the opacity is at 100%. And now let's just glaze over this part of the mountain to add a slight texture. And let's do the same for the right side of the mountain. So we'll have to go to that other layer. It's layer 8 right here. And again, use alpha lock. And for this side, let's use this gray right here. And again, just glaze over that side of the mountain. Next, we'll go to this dark mountain part here. Again, use alpha lock. And for the color, we will use, let's use this color right here. And again, glaze over the mountain. Finally, we have that mountain on the left. That's layer 5 right here. Click it, use alpha lock. And let's pick this gray right here, that second color. And glaze over it. And let's also add some texture to these grassy hills. Let's go for that dark one first. Click it, use alpha lock. And for our color, let's pick the light green for that. And for the brush, we'll go to Organic and use the clay brush. I have the size set to 20%. And let's just glaze over that hill. And next, let's switch to that light hill, click the layer, use alpha lock. And for this one, let's pick that darker green. And we're still using the clay brush. And just gently glaze over it. Now let's add some smaller details to our landscape, like some little trees. We'll use another brush for that. We'll just go back to the calligraphy brushes and use the monoline brush. And of course, we'll also make a new layer to create our trees. Let's click the plus And use layer clipping mask again so our trees won't go outside of that blue circle shape. For our colors, we'll use these 3 greens right here and vary them up a bit to get some different colors of trees. And we'll just create some simple tree shapes. A little bit triangular. First, I'll place some of these darker trees in random spots. And I'll make sure that they are a bit smaller and they are farther away. Just making simple triangular shapes. If you want to create more realistic looking landscape paintings, then you might like my Patreon page. You can find some fully narrated video tutorials about landscape painting there. I'll just keep creating these triangular trees. And I switch up the colors. Making some lighter trees as well. And finally, let's add a little road to our scene. Let's just make a new layer for that again. And we'll pick this light brownish color. I'll make the brush a little bit smaller, perhaps around 15%. And let's create a little road. You don't have to worry about going over the edges. We'll fix that later. Let's just focus on our little road first. And it's like a couple of S shapes. And make sure that it's thinner near the horizon. You can just use your eraser to sculpt your little road. And switch between your eraser and your regular brush. But your road, it'll be smaller when you're near the horizon, and it'll be a little bit broader right here. Of course, we want to get rid of these parts that are sticking out, and we can use the selections again for that. First, let's make a selection of that blue circle. Click it, then use select, and now we'll want to invert this selection. So click invert right here, and go back to that road layer. Now swipe with 3 fingers, and you'll see this part disappearing. And let's do the same with the hill. Click it, use select, and invert this selection. Now go back to the road layer and swipe. And now you can see that that part is removed. Let me clean that up. And next let's add a little bit of texture to our road. We'll use alpha lock again for that. So whatever we paint, whatever texture we paint will only show up on the pixels that are already on this layer. For our brush, we will go to Artistic and use the Tarolea brush. And we'll use this darker brown color, this color right here. Alright, let's just glaze over this road and add a little bit of texture. Like that. And there we have our landscape with mountains. And while you followed this tutorial, you learned a lot about using selections, layer clipping mask, and alpha lock. If you enjoyed following this tutorial, then you might like my other You Can Draw This videos as well. Or you can just start with these two videos over here. Thanks for watching.